Hello and welcome. I'll wait for Tom to turn on the lights for us. Welcome, my name is Kevin Quick. I'm the Director of Music Ministries here at Highland United Methodist Church. Thank you all for coming. Today's concert is titled From Darkness to Hope, a Musical Journey. And I'm sure you all kind of might have put two and two together. From Darkness to Hope, this concert explores the emotions that kind of range and mirror the emotions that we had at the very beginning of this pandemic up till now. We began with O Fortuna, which became famous because it was a very apocalyptic-like song. It was used in a bunch of movies. And it was kind of just a very cold start, just like how this pandemic just happened all of a sudden. The next piece is going to be a solo handbell choir piece, that's what I'm calling it, called The Lonely Man. It actually is the theme song from an old series from the 70s or 80s, The Incredible Hulk. For those of you who aren't up with pop culture, The Incredible Hulk, his human name, his real name is Dr. Bruce Banner, who gets infected with gamma rays. And with that, whenever he becomes really angry, he turns green, really large into the Hulk. And this is just a lonely life for him. So this is how the TV series, the TV show, each episode ended was with this song. So hope you enjoy. So I started making all of these videos, honestly, mostly out of boredom. So back when this pandemic started in March, I was like, man, what am I going to do with all my free time? I was just at the end of my seminary education, and so there just wasn't as much to do. And so I was like, Megan, my wife, what if I tried doing one of these videos by myself? I've seen people, sing with themselves before. Why can't I do that with handbells? And she was like, oh, sure. And she didn't realize that would entail, like coming here at like 8 o'clock at night, turning off the AC system. And I think I've put in 10,000 hours at this point making these videos. Obviously an exaggeration. So the upcoming piece is Little Fugue in G minor, originally written for the organ. So this upcoming piece is chaotic and orderly, but it's also very melancholy and powerful at the same time. Even though this piece will clearly be Baroque, and even if you don't know what Baroque means, you'll hear it and be like, oh yeah, this is very something. I've heard stuff like this before. It still has this emotional depth that predates the Romantic era, which would come a few hundred years later. This piece grows bigger and bigger, faster and faster until the very climax at the end. The beginning is very stately, it's very stately tune, but each time you hear the melody, it comes in a little darker and darker up until the very end. So the next piece is Little Fugue in G minor. The next piece is Pie Jesu. So as the musicians come on up, I will talk a little to give them a little bit more time to come on up. That piece, I originally learned of that piece whenever I was in high school. I was playing with the handbell choir and we did that piece. And then whenever, I solely intended for it to be just the orchestra, but I accidentally formatted it as if there were going to be lyrics to the right, and there weren't, and I was like, oh no, now I have to fill up a bunch of space. And it didn't take me long to convince myself to, oh yeah, let me just play it on bells. I loved doing that the first time. So this next piece is Pie Jesu. So the next piece is going to be a video. We're pretty much going to alternate from here on out with video and live musicians. So this next piece is called The Prayer. I had heard it before in my life, but it's originally a part of this box office blunder called The Quest for Camelot. It did terrible in the movies. Megan and I watched it. It's not worth watching, I promise. But it was originally sung from parents to lost child or lost parents to a child. But this song has kind of evolved to often being a duet between two people, most notably of Celine Dion and Andrea Bocelli, who originally sang it, and then Josh Groban partially got his start after filling in for Andrea Bocelli. It was also featured at Megan's and my wedding a few years ago, so it's been fresh on my mind ever since then. You can read in the lyrics that it envisions what life could be like in the future. And it begins the next section of this concert that has romantic songs in it. So hope you enjoy The Prayer. next set of pieces come from West Side Story, so I invite those musicians to come on up as I buy them time. That's a pity. You're allowed to pity laugh at me. It's perfectly fine. So you'll notice that we only had 10 singers instead of the usual choir of 40 some odd people. So those 10 people are people who've begun to sing in the choir regularly during this time. I wanted a piece to kind of show them off, all 10 of us, including myself. So. final romantic piece, if we can call it that, will be You Raise Me Up, another video that the choir and orchestra has produced. It was originally an instrumental, believe it or not. It was just called The Silent Story. It was performed early 2000s by this Scandinavian band, Soundgarden, but it was made famous by some others such as Sela, and Josh Groban's probably the most famous, in addition to others such as Celtic Woman. Viewpoints may vary between people on who raises them up, based on who the singer is, who the listener is. Loveland, who is one of the writers, stated that everyone just raises everybody else up. Others point to a specific person in their life, maybe a spouse. While Josh Groban stated that it was God who raises him up. So I hope you enjoy You Raise Me Up.
So
It's that point of the concert where I let you know that if you want to give money to the church, believe it or not, we do allow you to do that. So there's a basket by the doors back there. Feel free to give money. If you're more technologically advanced than I am, here's a QR code, or you can also donate online. For those of you streaming from home or elsewhere, if you navigate to highlandumc.org, you'll be able to quite easily, you should be able to find the donate button for the music funds of the church. There have been some costs associated with this concert, so any sort of financial contribution you're able to give is certainly appreciated. The next piece is Sicilian by our own Ann Pierce. Many of the musicians who are playing here, you've seen before. They play in church all the time, and they are just absolutely wonderful. I told them the idea, like, hey, what if we do a concert that's kind of like this? And they had jumped all over it, and all of a sudden we had a bunch of live music for this concert. That took no convincing. So here's Sicilian.
When I first learned this piece several years ago, I was dismayed to find out that it was not written originally for flute, because it is quite gorgeous and fits the instrument so well. Fauré wrote this in 1893 as part of a dramatic presentation that was to be presented in an arena that was for a small orchestra and actors. Unfortunately, that theater company went bankrupt, so it was never performed. 5 years later, he arranged it for cello and piano. That became quite popular. It wasn't until 10 years later that he arranged it again for a full orchestra. During that arrangement, the first solo was by the oboe. Finally, he had the flute play the solo part.
next piece is Over the Rainbow, which we all know either from Wizard of Oz or the ukulele cover of it. Whenever we hear this piece, we may think of either the ukulele version or Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but actually this piece is deeply embedded in the Jewish experience. The words were written by Yip Harburg, who was the youngest of 4 children born to Russian Jewish immigrants to the U.S. The music was written by a friend of his, Harold Arlen, who was the son of a Jewish cantor. They were from Lithuania. They reached deep into their Jewish consciousness at the time, framed by the slums of the past and the Holocaust that was about to happen when this piece was written. So when you listen to the lyrics, hopefully you'll see that this piece is more than just about wizards in Oz, but rather survival. So this is Over the Rainbow.
Someday I'll
Tom, I'll be using the green mic. Okay. I'd like to invite Phyllis and Ann up for Praise the Lord the Almighty and give the mic over to Phyllis to say a few words.
See about this mic. Can you hear me? Too loud? Too loud? Okay. I want you to notice on your program that there are several pieces being performed today. Up here? Okay. Is this all right now? Notice on your program that there's several pieces being performed today that are arrangements by a composer and arranger and brilliant pianist, Mark Hayes. If you notice, one of them you just heard, Over the Rainbow, and now we're going to play another one, Praise to the Lord the Almighty. This hymn was specifically arranged also by Hayes for the piano. But because we have new instruments in our church, the timpani and the chimes, plus we have Ann Pierce, who's a wonderful performer on the flute, I thought it'd be a great idea to include them in this piece. And so it is thanks to the vision inspired by our music director, our new music director, Kevin Quick, that we have these instruments. And thanks to his musical abilities, he orchestrated these three instruments to be included in the piano piece. So I think that's a marvelous thing that he's done for this. This seems to be a fitting piece in this new arrangement to celebrate the hope of things to come without the terrible pandemic in which we live. Thank you.
Just put on the piano, on the music, on the piano. Our final video for today is Hymn of Promise. The composer, Natalie Sleeth, was a long-time composer of anthems, especially those for children. She was married to a Methodist pastor, professor, and theologian. Yes, that's one person, in case you're wondering. Although this piece is a favorite for funerals, it was written at a time when she was just pondering about the ideas of life and death, spring and winter, Good Friday and Easter, and the whole reawakening of the world that happens every spring. Shortly after she wrote this anthem, her husband was diagnosed with a terminal illness and requested Hymn of Promise for his funeral. And even after her own death in 1992, she expresses through this song how life moves into death, and death gives way to eternity, and ultimate victory comes for those whose doubt has evolved into belief. This piece is Hymn of Promise. Our final piece today will be by our own Marcia Nance at the organ. So she's in the organ console in case you can't see her. I wanted to thank you all for coming today. This has been an absolute treat. It's been so much fun creating these videos and hearing from my office all of the different performers rehearsing and all of that. This has been an absolute dream come true for me. So our last piece is You Shall Go Out with Joy and Hope.